our yard is now like a mud puddle, and they're so happy. They're out there like, woo-hoo. Oh, they're funny. They're very dumb. They also, so the neighbor's cat like sleeps in our garage a lot, and I bought one of those heated cat houses, and all the hens have been laying their eggs in the heated cat house. So we found this mountain of eggs. We just thought they weren't laying because it's kind of dark. But yeah, so that was fun to clean up.
Ready?
There you go.
Yeah.
Kings Road.
You recording?
Recording in progress.
Now recording. Okay, I'm going to call the Select Board meeting of Tuesday, February 14th to order. And the first item is approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any changes on the agenda? Kathleen, any amendments to it at all? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor of approving the draft agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next is the consent agenda approval. Moved,
Second.
seconded. We've got a couple extensions on some of the tree stuff in here. Our meeting minutes, is there any corrections in the meeting minutes, Heather? None, okay.
No, I didn't find anything.
So,
I'm abstaining from the minutes.
and you're abstaining from the minutes. Farhad was not here. Okay. Anything else anybody wants to talk about on this? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as drafted, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, citizen comments. Is there anybody here for something that is not on the agenda? Tony? If you could come forward so that they can hear you out in the listening audience.
I'll make this as quickly as I can, because I know you guys are busy. It's about 55 Middle Road, south of town. When I purchased that land, I knew of the restrictions, but I didn't know how serious they really were going to be. So I didn't think much of it. But the town went ahead and put the blocks in front of the driveway that goes into my lot. In other words, you know the green building behind the dollar store?
Yes.
Familiar
Yes.
with that? That was many businesses, probably over a period of 50 or 60 years, 5 or 6 or 7 businesses in here. And I purchased the land, so I thought I could make it really work well. So I rented it to Good Point Recycling. And I did that. I was informed by the zoning people that restriction, they cannot write them a occupancy permit until a restriction on the lower lot towards Route 7 is tended to. So they put the blocks up last Friday, and yesterday they wrote the permit for them to do business with the public. I got thinking about it over the weekend, and I wasn't really going to bother with it, but it's bothering the hell out of me. And the reason is, if there wasn't any businesses there to start with, and I managed to convince Robin to keep his company here in Middlebury because he's got 2 operations here. He already moved out 40 or 50% of his business to Massachusetts. And so he's doing internet sales out of my business. Now, think about this. I don't think that the town zoning people, at the time they decided to move all the buildings right up to the sidewalk, I don't think that they really had the right to restrict that property. And, it makes you think about restraint of trade or whatnot. But it's just a matter of who decided that. How far back do we have to go? And every time we change zoning administrator, do we have to change rules? This goes beyond Jen. This goes back 25, 30 years ago. that the goals were that when you come into Middlebury, it's like going into a tunnel. They want all the buildings right on the road, right on the sidewalks, which is ridiculous. That's the way I feel about it. The plan was to make it look like Greenwich, Connecticut, Greenwich Avenue, buildings on the road, parking out back. That's the way it is there. But that's not Middlebury. Middlebury deserves a lot more than that. What I'm trying to get to is, first of all, the restriction on that driveway, I was told, was because it was a traffic hazard. I got off the phone with the highway department. I know Joe Flynn for many years, and he said he'd look into it. He'll get back to me this week. The town claims that someone in the highway department signed off on it and said it was a hazard. Town also claimed that chief of police signed off on it. So I called Tom, because I know Tom pretty well, Handel, and he said, I never signed anything. So him and I got together, went down and looked at it, and he was explaining to me that there's 5 or more cars able to back up at the light. In other words, you're at the light heading south, picture that, before you turn in the middle road. And you can get 5, 6, 8, 10 cars to back up going to your right or left after the light is on when it changes. So there's really no traffic violations have ever been there either. There's never had a problem there. Now, here's the thing. Okay, tit for tat. No, well, that's not what I'm doing here. This guy's a friend of mine, okay? And he has a business next to me right there.
No.
Now, since those blocks have been there, people have been going up to the green building, okay, turning, going down my parking lot into his place. I mean, not a few, a lot, because that's the only way they feel they could go, because the curb cut has been cut off. So if I blocked my driveway from keeping him going down that way, oh yeah, by the way, the town took a right of way there from Middle Road to the shopping center in front of the green building. I don't know if you're aware of that. And which I also don't agree with. I'm going to try to stop and get it rescinded. What happens next? Well, now they're going to, okay, so they'll come in this way. The pod turns around on my lot and go back out that way. So what do? Block off the other driveway onto my lot? So all Fahad has got is that 6 or 8 or 10 spaces, if it's even 10 spaces. That's not right. It stinks, and there's something wrong with that. And I hate to use the word restrained trade, but I mean, you ought to look it up and see what the hell it means. That's as close as you can get to restrained trade. The fact that they blocked off, I knew it would happen, or I wasn't sure it was going to happen, but I knew it was there when I bought it. So I'm not trying to cop out of anything. What happens if I get a client that really wants to do something on that property? What do I tell them? Oh, I'm sorry, you can't have your building here. You go down the back and try to go out just the same configuration as McDonald's. It's okay for them, but it wouldn't be okay for you. And I'm talking about Starbucks, I'm talking about Burger King, I'm talking about 3 or 4 other options. People have come to me. That's not what Middlebury needs. Middlebury needs some real good constructive buildings with apartments on top. I mean, I know what Middlebury needs. I'm right in the middle of it. Okay. I just wanted you guys to know what's going on. And the one who's going to get hurt the most is the man who's been in business longer on that property is Fahad. It just isn't right that the town takes that piece of property and shuts it down just as they did. It's wrong. I know where it comes from, and I know how many years ago it came from. It happened right in this room. I was part of all of that years ago.
So I'm sorry, I don't know the background of this. You purchased this knowing there was a zoning violation or a
No, it was
concern about the
just
traffic?
They wanted to block the driveway and would never believe they would do that.
Yeah, okay.
And they said, well, the reason is because it's a traffic problem.
Is it the driveway closest to Route 7?
Yeah, right next to the site.
Right here?
So that'd be this one up here.
Oh, this
Okay.
one's blocked.
Yeah.
this access now.
to
Been
get
there
it, but
since,
people
I
are
don't know,
coming in
40s.
here
Yeah.
to come to your.
I remember
okay.
when they put the light in, the only reason they put the light in was because of the school.
Sure.
It's blocked
So,
here.
So prior to that, Giroux brothers were there.
I want to say something. I met with Kathleen and Brian a few years ago regarding this problem. Also about the setbacks when the DRB was telling us that the buildings will be closer to the road and the parking in the back. And I was concerned that it's going to create a sightline issue with my business. It's going to be a complete issue, right? And if you look at McDonald's, its setback is all the way like 75 to 100 feet. The gas station, the National Bank of Middlebury, and my store, and the Citizens Bank. I said, having this building sticking out all the way to the road didn't make sense. And we talked about that with Kathleen and Brian at that time. At that time, they were talking about putting those usher blocks to close that access. I said, how does that make sense? That has not even one accident in 20 years I've been there. It's not a dangerous intersection. So why the Public Works decides that without notice, all of a sudden they said, I'm going to drop off those blocks. Just last week. We didn't know that, not a notice.
Well, wait, now, I'm sorry, but I went to the town and I asked them, I said, I realize that they want to put those blocks there and I can't get a permit for this guy to open his business to the public. It's okay for him to mail it. He's on eBay, that's okay, but he can't open to the public as long as that driveway's there. And I don't want to buy, they were telling me, well, just go and get those Jersey barriers, which are about as ugly as, I won't get into that. So I had the idea of the blocks. I went and saw Kathleen. She said, well, let me call the Public Works to see what's cooking. And they were going to get back to me before they did it, but they went right ahead and they put them there. And they, don't get me wrong, those blocks are beautiful. I'd love to own them someday for other things, for other idea I have. Anyhow, that's where we are with the blocks.
Thanks for
And,
pointing out the picture.
But then, the other thing is, they take the town right away on that piece of property, 5 feet from the cars that are parked in front of the green building. There's a right of way now. It goes right to Fahad's property. Then they want to go through his property into the shopping center. The only problem with that is you picture that? Can you see where I'm talking?
Mhm.
You're about 600 to 700 feet from a driveway already in the shopping center around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that didn't make any sense at all, but it's one of the things that happens that you guys should be aware of. And I am gonna try to resend the blocks. I'm gonna try like hell to resend that based on the traffic. But the right of way, I'm definitely gonna try to resend.
I would like somebody to imagine trying to get out of my store, making a left turn on Route 7 is quite impossible to get there. And the only option, the people that come shop at me is they have to go all the way back into Tony's property in front of the green building and get on the middle road.
Yeah.
That's the only option they have now.
Now, if I block that off, they don't have that option.
Right.
And if I block off the option by his sign to the end of his building, they don't have the option. All he's got is that.
Yep.
And my land will sit there. And, I don't want to get into, well, what are the taxes worth? Well, they're not worth very much. Here we are. So
Okay.
I
think we understand the issue. We'll have to look at it.
Yeah, and I don't want to take your time because you guys got a lot going on. So, you know how I feel, and I am going to try to do something. I don't know what. Survive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks.
I see Judy's hands up.
Judy? Can you hear us?
Okay.
I'm gonna
We're gonna
promote her
move
to
on.
panelist.
Next is appointment of a representative to the Addison County Economic Development Corporation Board. Whoops. Hey, Judy.
Can you hear me?
Yes. we
Yes,
can
I
hear you.
do.
Oh. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear us?
She can't hear us.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Somebody, yeah, I'm not on.
All right, thank you. Who was that?
Tony Neary.
Who was that that just was taken?
Tony Neary.
She can't hear.
It was Tony Neri.
And so he got that property and he is going to clean up what's underneath that property so we can develop it.
Judy, we have an agenda to go to. Can we take this offline? This was citizen
Okay.
comments.
Now, you've muted yourself, Judy.
You muted yourself. Can't hear you. Okay.
Okay, we're good. Well, we can't hear her.
We can't hear.
Give her- Don't know what to say.
We could hear her.
Yeah. It's an issue on her end.
We'll get back to you, Judy.
Can you just, is there a way to type to her that
Yeah.
we'll come back to her? Okay, back to appointment of representative to Essex County Economic Development Corporation Board. So Town of Middlebury is entitled to the rep on the Board of Directors for ACEDC. And Richard McCurb, resident of Town of Middlebury, submitted an application. And Richard's here. And his resume and application were in the packet. Would you like to say hi, Richard? And
This to me is a great opportunity, hearing people, small business people having problems. And I love that environment. It's what I did for 45 years, basically, working with smallish companies to solve business problems. A lot of it financial.
Yeah.
No Confederate flag. So I'm pleased. I really am. I know several of the people on the board. Rennie Perry is a good friend of mine from the Virgins group, and I look forward to working with them. It will interfere slightly with my Habitat for Humanity obligations, but I can live with that. 7:30 on Thursday mornings. Every so often they have a meeting,
Wow.
Zoom meeting. So, any questions for me? I'd be delighted to dig in.
any questions of Richard?
I didn't realize you were replacing Leanne, keeping it in the family.
Okay.
Pretty amazing resume that you got. I thought I moved a lot when I was in the service, but you moved.
I count almost 20 times altogether. Yeah. That doesn't include a couple of years in Vail when I moved several times a year. Yeah. So,
A lot of experience.
So pleasure of the board then.
I'll move to appoint Richard McCurr as the Town of Middlebury's representative to the Board of Directors of Addison County Economic Development Corporation to a term of 1 year that would expire on 12/31/23.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much for your service here.
Forward to
Yeah.
being back with you guys.
Okay, Public Works, I think we're gonna have Heather take this.
Yep.
And we'll start with 7A, contract change order for purchase of a generator.
Yes. So if you'll recall, the board and at the recommendation of the infrastructure committee had recommended that the town purchase the generator for that project because there was a long lead time. Since then, the approved bidder, Champlain Construction, has located an alternative that's satisfactory to the engineer with a 16-week less lead time, still 20 weeks to get it, but 16 less than the original we had spec'd out. It does increase the cost, and because the original bid was not to exceed, we do need to reapprove that. So the total cost of the generator is $30,447. The markup on that is $2,553 for a total increase to the contract of $33,000. So the infrastructure committee is recommending that the select board approve the additional and increase the contract and have the contractor approve purchase and supply the generator.
And is that still in budget for the project?
I believe so, yes.
It's roughly a $1,300 increase.
Mhm.
Of,
Over
does-
the limit that we put.
Yeah, and it does put the, liability of all of the parts and everything on the contractor's end rather than on the town's end, so.
I'll move to authorize the proposed change order for the previously approved contract with Champlain Construction Incorporated, increasing the total project contract cost for $710,291.75 to $743,291.75 to allow for the purchase of the aforementioned generator at the Halliday Road pump station.
Second.
moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
So the next item is also related to the Halliday Road pump station. As you recall, we typically approve engineering contracts that don't include the construction part of the contract until we are, ready to do that. So this is an amendment to the original contract that includes the construction costs. So construction administration, review, and post-construction drawing work. So this is an additional $35,000 to the original contract of $21,000 for a total of $56,000 for engineering on this project.
Questions? Pleasure of the board.
I'll move to authorize an amendment to the previously approved contract with Otter Creek Engineering, increasing the contracted amount by $35,000 to a total of $56,000 to also provide construction phase services to the town for the Halliday Road Pump Station project.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
7C is approval of an engineering agreement for the Rogers Road Pump Station Rehabilitation Project. I do like the wording in here where it says likely. It is somewhere, it's how it says right here, built in the 70s in need of upgrades. Very similar to the Seminary Street, the one we did a couple years ago there, and the Halliday Road, similar. Getting our pump stations
Not,
up to where they
not
should
in
be.
the 70s.
Yes. So again, this is just, I don't remember. I remember looking at it at the meeting. I have the wrong one in front of me. Sorry. There's Rogers Road. So again, like we just talked about the construction phase, this just includes the design and that work, not engineering costs. So at some point when we get there, they would be amended as well. And this contract amount is for $30,000. Do you have any
Questions?
questions on that?
Pleasure of the board.
I'll move to award the contract to Otter Creek Engineering for the necessary engineering preparation work related to likely future improvements to the Rogers Road pump station for $30,000.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay,
So next engineering agreement is the third and final stage of phase of water line replacement on Foot Street. This is to, so we've already done 2 phases in there. This is the third phase. Continue with that. So then we can obviously do the road work and everything else. I don't know what else I can say about that. More. So right now we're working to engineer a lot of stuff and get it shovel ready because we've had success when we do that with getting additional funding for some of these projects. So that's why you see all these engineering contracts.
Cool.
Questions
I
on?
think that was something we discussed about, we're thinking there might be some ARPA funds that come available later on, close as the timeline
Yes.
nears, so,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, I hope so.
you never know.
I
Questions
move
on
to
that?
award a contract to Otter Creek Engineering for the necessary engineering preparation work for the completion of the Foot Street water main replacement project for $10,000.
Second.
Any questions on that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay.
Okay. I was gonna say it's not in the pack, in this packet, but not in there. So, that was a blank paper. And there's the.
Good, thank you.
There's also some other town infrastructure project updates here on 7E. The rails sidewalk discussions. I'm not going to do justice to the stormwater UVM projects that Emily would be able to provide, but that's actually pretty exciting to have some students working on some of our stormwater projects and be interesting to see what they bring to the table and for options there. And we also had some discussion about town paving, reclaiming versus overlay. Emily's encouraging us to consider doing some overlay where we could, to maybe help us get caught up a little bit on some of our road maintenance. So
Can you describe those processes? Is that one mill and replace and the other is another sheet of asphalt? Is that it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. A shim and overlay is not doing anything to what's there underneath.
Okay.
So if it's in pretty poor condition, sometimes that doesn't buy you a lot of time. And some could argue that it's not a good use of money,
Yeah.
right? Where when you do a reclaim is where they grind the surface down, they regrade it, redo the substructure
Mhm.
before they then repave it, which is more expensive, but should be a longer term
Sure.
fix.
So which one? Sorry, this is just, you know how sometimes you're driving and they're like uneven and it's like there's grooves in which one of those is that?
So which one is the,
Is that a shim and overlay? Or is that
you
what
mean
you're
like,
saying?
so where
It's more of a-
there's like a cut and repave?
No. Where it's like
You're talking about on
it's like
Court
Oh,
Street
you have like
where-
a groove on the side?
no, like there's like it's textured. It's okay. It doesn't matter.
Are you talking about the rumble strips?
No, it's all right.
So sometimes when,
Right, where it's milled, right?
sometimes when it's milled before it's
Milled
repaved,
Before it's
Oh,
repaved. That's milled
okay.
before repaving.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Then you can have
Yeah.
some, yes, you can have some,
Scarified.
yes.
Okay. And
But that's usually when in the process of reclaiming what's in there, on there.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I realized that has nothing to do with
Okay, any questions of Heather on these other infrastructure projects?
Is there any timing on the sidewalk from the train piece? Is there a timeline for that?
There isn't yet. We're
Okay.
still in contact, reaching out to the landowners.
Then Joe will, and it looks like Ken's come along with you.
So Judy had just.
Do we have,
I don't know, Judy, are we able to hear you yet? Nope, we're not. Yeah, we still can't hear you.
Is it her microphone?
I don't know.
We can't hear you.
Just out of curiosity, is there anybody else? There's nobody else on there. We could test their mics and see if it's hers.
Yeah, we're gonna have Dana in a minute.
I think
See,
Ilsley Library, is that Dana?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So let's,
Dana, you there?
Can you hear me?
yes,
Okay.
we can hear you.
It's Judy's,
Okay, that's a relief.
it's Judy's system.
Judy, we think it's something on your end. Maybe, Judy, can you try restarting your computer and come back to the meeting? Like, just like shut your computer right down, restart it, and then come back to the meeting?
How about she just call in on a telephone?
Yeah.
Do something archaic like
That, or you could call in from a telephone.
In the meantime, I would like to get going on Ilsley 100. It is Valentine's Day, and I don't want to play around on this stuff.
You in trouble?
Well, it's just not a very good day to have a meeting, so. Especially not
And we're always in
to
trouble.
spend time on
Oh, this is a
Tic-tac
wonderful,
stuff.
this is a wonderful day to have a meeting, and our
Oh, it is. Let's move on.
our Valentine to you is
Yeah,
a
thanks,
report
Joe.
on the,
It's not working.
oh, we're good. Never mind.
I feel good about it.
All right, yeah. So anyway, I am here tonight. Dana is joining us remotely. Dana, can we hear you?
Good.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, great. Also here, of course, are Dan and Farhad, who are part of the Ilsley 100 team. We also have Ken Perrine, Amy Mincher, and Barbara Doyle Wilch, which is pretty much almost everybody on the Ilsley 100 team. We come to you this evening with 3 requests. We would like you to approve our recommendation to move ahead with the renovation and expansion in the current site. We would like you to approve a contract with our fundraising consultant, and we would like you to approve our proposed process to move ahead with an RFQ and RFP process. I'll just talk very briefly about those 3 things. We'll see. Dana may chime in, and then we'll give you guys some time to talk about it. So as you know, it's been about a year since this group has been working. You, the select board, charged us with taking a look at the library and coming up with a recommendation. We have worked diligently, I think methodically, and we've gotten lots of feedback from the public as well. So in your board documents there, among other things, you have 11 pages of public comment from the meetings that we held with people and so on. So at our last meeting of the Ilsley 100 project team, we polled the group to see which of the 4 options we were considering people wanted to go for. People spoke very articulately and were all in favor of option B. That is the renovate and expand on the current site. So we would ask you as the select board to agree with us and to approve that recommendation from us. Of course, to move ahead with this, we'll need to figure out how to pay for it. Part of this would be a fund, a kind of a capital campaign. And to look more closely into that, we would like to hire someone that we actually had a contract with on the last go-round, Christine Graham, to do a fundraising feasibility study. The idea behind this is to conduct interviews with people who might have the capacity to be generous donors to the project and try to get a sense of how much money we might be able to raise. In order to move ahead with the actual process, we need to work with some professionals, an architecture or design firm, and to figure out who that's going to be, we would like to issue a request for qualifications to start with. This was developed by Judy Harris with some input from Dana, from me, from Nick Artem. And our idea is that we would reach out to regional architectural firms, see who might be interested in working on this project. The project team would then narrow down those who are interested to perhaps 3 or 4 firms. We would ask those firms to show us what they might do with this space. Typically in an RFP process, people tell you what they've done before, and we're of course curious about that. But we'd really like to see what they would be able to do with this particular space. So the idea is kind of like a design competition almost. We would say to them, here, we pay them a little bit, sort of a token stipend of $5,000. Say, hey, come back to us in a couple of months, show us what you could do. And then based on what we got back from those folks, we would move ahead with one of those firms. So those are the 3 things that we're asking you for approval for tonight. Dana, is there anything you'd like to add here to what I just shared?
I don't think so. I think you covered it, Joe. I'm happy to answer questions or talk about anything else as it comes up, though.
Okay. Well, you have 3 proposed motions on your board notes. I'll leave it to Brian as to how you'd like to proceed, but you could just march through those or whatever you like.
You'd love if we just marched right through them. I know that.
Well, you have a very interesting practice in this board, which is usually you have a discussion, and then you say, well, should we have a vote? Yeah, let's have a vote. Whereas the typical method is you put the motion on the floor, then you discuss it, then you vote.
We do both ways.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Is there,
I'll move to approve the Isley 100 Projects team's recommendation to proceed with option B, renovate and expand in the current location.
Second. Come on.
No,
put me down.
are there any
He wants
questions
to
or
be the
comments
second
on that? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Before we go on to the next 2, might I ask, remind me how much you have left in your budget for this project? I thought it was 20-something thousand.
Dana will answer that question.
About $24,000
Okay.
for this fiscal year.
And you're asking us to approve 50,000.
For Christine Graham's contract, you mean?
Between Christine Graham's contract and the RFQ process.
So I think the only funds we plan on expending in this fiscal year are for the RFQ process. Christine Graham's work will really kick off in September or October. So we'll be well into the next fiscal year by then, and we've included a request for funding for her work in our capital budget for fiscal year 24.
Okay, this is what I understood from discussing with them. I would ask the board to postpone 8A until closer to when we get actually ready to do that work, and we'll know where we are on the process at that point, versus authorizing funding that we haven't even passed and appropriated yet. I think it's
Because it's in a budget that the,
it's in a budget we haven't even
That hasn't
approved
been
yet.
voted on.
So
Right.
I talked to these guys about that. So I mean, that was my understanding of the way, the process we were going to do it. So
You
Dana,
have it in the proposed budget. You're just concerned that the budget's not approved?
well, number one, we haven't got an approved budget. And number 2, we're not talking about doing that until September, and things could change between now and September. So
Is there an issue, Joe, with committing?
Dana, perhaps you could explain a little bit about some of the preparation that needs to take place in order for this to happen in the fall?
Sure. Well, so the town already signed a contract with Christine 5 years ago to do this exact work. And that contract has been in effect up until, I mean, I guess it's still in effect now because she hasn't finished the work. So I've been working with her on and off over the past few years, slowly chipping away at the preparation work. And there's still a little bit of preparation work to do between now and my maternity leave, really, is when we're gonna try and do a little bit more work. At this point, we're just paying her, based on her hourly rate as we go. So this updated contract was to reflect a change in her fees. We're already paying her current fees, so I think if we need to hold off until the budget is approved to sign this, that won't stop us from doing the small amount of preparation work that we still would like to do this spring.
Right, which would be my point, because whatever you're doing, you can do with the way you've been doing it. I don't see us authorizing funding we haven't even gotten approved yet. I just think it's out of the order we should do business. We don't do that. So
Would that impact your timeline?
this has zero impact. They're still going to do everything else. So-
I don't think it has any.
I don't think it would impact our timeline. It would be nice if we could let Christine know that we're signing it after the budget is approved, as opposed to waiting until July, until the start of the fiscal year. I just would like to, she's holding a space for us, and she is working on the project in some capacity, so I wouldn't want to push it out until the fall. But we can certainly push it out without slowing things down this spring.
So I would say bring it back like at the end of April. And we'll look at it then. Because then we will have had, there's two things that I really wanted, and I told you this, Joe. It's the budget, and I wanted the offsite with the board to have a chance to verify exactly what the process that the board will support. And so that's the way I'd like to do it. Number one, we're not going to authorize funding that we haven't gotten approved yet. So let's go to 8B. So 8B, they're asking us for an RFQ process, and then they would award $5,000 to top four to do some design work, and they have that funding. It seems like a really good next step, so we can get some idea and start as we bring it out to the public, actually have a concept, some decent concept sketches to present and have them get an idea what it would look like. And that seems like a really good next step, because you've defined what the need is. You've selected a course of action that you'd like to do, and I think now we need to have some sketches how that would look. So, especially it says in here that maybe somebody would come up with a solution that you didn't tear down the other two. I mean, that would be kind of interesting to see, but.
Do you want a motion?
Yeah, if the board's in support of it.
I'll move to authorize the ILSI 100 project team to proceed with the proposed RFQ process and to expend an amount not to exceed $20,000.
Second.
Yes.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, we're excited to see it.
So one question for you. So you kind of approved this process. We would obviously keep you in the loop in terms of how things are going. At what points do we need to come back to you for the next round of authorization? In other words, if you approve this process, we'll issue the RFQ, we'll vet the possible firms to work with. We'll run the next set of instructions, sort of, which are essentially the request for proposals by you. Do you want us to come back and ask again, is it okay if we do this, or are we good to go ahead?
So you may get like 8 firms, who knows?
Yeah.
and you would select the top 4.
Yep.
My thought would be you'd come back and say, these were the 8, these are the 4 we'd like to pay $5,000 to.
Okay.
And then we just get to see who they are.
Yep.
I'm not sure that they would be much more than a rubber stamp approval,
Okay.
but I think that would be a good logical next step to bring to us, to just say, so it keeps us in the loop, really.
Sure.
And then it's a matter of public record. So, I mean, the others are public record, your meetings are too, but it would be on a more visible public record where we have a greater listening audience. And I think they would have a chance to see who those firms are.
Sure.
And maybe there's a local one that would be interested in it. So,
Yeah, well, one thing that the project team did suggest is we're going to send this out kind of regionally. I think before, that we're sending to Chicago and so on, we're going to keep things a little bit closer to home here. So,
are there any that specialize in libraries?
oh, you bet.
Okay.
Yeah,
I figured I
Barbara
would-
can tell you in detail who those firms are and how much they'll charge you.
Yeah. I would assume there'd be some, so.
There are certainly firms that specialize in libraries, not in Vermont, but yeah.
But regionally, I would assume.
Regionally, Barbara?
Oh, Boston.
Boston,
Boston,
You're
yeah.
Boston, New York, I mean, if that's part of the region.
If that's
Yeah.
depends on your definition of regional. But thank you all. I just have to. Oh, sorry, Farhad.
Yeah, I have a quick request. Can you also add on to the moving expenses and temporary relocation? It's not in there. It could be $1 million. It could be a few $100,000. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't
Good
know,
to
and
have
that's
that.
kind of the challenge because what we do know is that to proceed with this project, we will need to move out of the current building while the construction is going on.
We don't know how much.
Right. So the problem is we're going to need a place to move to, and we don't know when we're going to start. We don't know what property is going to be available for rent at that time that's going to be most suitable for us. I should let Dana talk about this, but we would anticipate that we would not move the entire collection.
Yeah.
We'd probably be moving, the more commonly used items. We may not be able to have our programming and our collection in the same space. Dana, do you want to speak to that?
Sure, like Joe said, there's a lot of variables, so it's difficult at this stage to guess what that number would be. But we have been trying to look into it and kind of come up with a somewhat educated guess. And so assuming that we have to move for about 2 years, I think that $500,000 seems like the reasonable middle of the road range for rent. That doesn't include moving expenses, which I think I got one quote, which would assume moving out of the building into the temporary location, and then moving from the temporary location back into the building, and storage for half of the collection, which would be about $130,000. So we can hopefully get closer or more accurate with those numbers once we know what building we're able to move into and what the actual rent is,
And
how much of the collection we're moving, and whether or not we're getting new shelving or we have to move the shelving, because that would be a huge factor as well.
And maybe if Tony hasn't found a buyer for his building near Farhad's store, we could rent that from him. Parking problems, yeah. Oh, right, yeah.
Does it need to be climate controlled?
I think so.
Well, if the collection is in storage, it needs to be climate controlled, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Izzy.
Yeah, I really appreciated how you engaged with the public up until this point. At what points can we expect that level of community engagement again? Do you have timelines for the next time that you would kind of go back to the public?
We're not sure. I think it depends a little bit on how things play out with this idea of a design competition. Do we want to have a wide open design competition and have everybody come and take a look and so on? I think one of the challenges is that the project team in selecting a design firm to work with is going to be very interested in how they approach this project, but we're also going to be very interested in how do they work with us? How do they deal with the public? How do they present themselves and so on? And I think we all know that there's a little danger there. If we put these projects out here, everybody says, yeah, that's the one we want. But it turns out maybe there's some issues with working with that firm. So we hope to continue to be very open and very transparent. Not quite sure what that's going to look like, but we could hope that sometime this summer we'd have some things to show people. But just as a caveat, the result that we get from a design competition is what somebody's put together over a two-month period. And we'll, of course, consult with people. We'll have, we'll tour the building. We'll have regular question and answers with people. But that's not going to be the final, the final design, as it were. It's going to be a concept. And likewise, I always want to remind you all that the estimates that we got from Henry Erickson are, that's probably not the final price tag exactly. I think we have a pretty good feel there, but that's not the number. So just bear that in mind. So, but
All right, thanks, Joe.
and,
You guys are moving forward.
thank you. And I just want to say we have a fabulous project team of people to work with Dana, with Judy Harris has been really a terrific help. These guys behind me and Jim, it's been a great group to work with. So thank you all.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay. I'd also like to recognize Dana and Joe put an awful lot of time.
Is the write-up. You do the write-up, Dana? Did you do the write-up?
Sorry, what? The write-up?
Yes. You or Joe or
The 11
you guys
pages
do
we
it
got.
together? 11
Oh, the
pages?
report?
Yeah.
That was a collaborative effort. Joe and I and Judith and all the team effort.
Yeah, very nice synopsis of everything you've done, and that was easy reading.
Oh, thank you.
So,
Thank you all.
okay, thank you. Hope you feel better soon. So next is Stonecrop Meadows. Kathleen?
So Stonecrop Meadows, the development on Seminary Street has requested a letter of support for community development block grant pre-application and for another state program available to support affordable and workforce housing. So the VCDP program, Vermont Community Development Block Grant Program, is one where the municipality must apply. And so you'll be seeing if they meet the pre-application requirements and readiness tests, you'll be having a public hearing at the end of March.
Okay. Any questions on that?
I'll move to authorize the town manager to draft and submit a letter of support to the state on behalf of the town of Middlebury Select Board, supporting Summit CDBG and CRRP applications for the proposed Stonecrop Meadows housing project.
Moved and seconded. Any other questions or comments?
It's nice to see something about this before us now. This is exciting.
It has a name.
Yeah.
It feels more real if it has a name.
We're voting on something.
There is the concept drawing that was in the Addy Indy. Sure that will change as they go through the process. They haven't, they've done civil engineering stuff, but they still got to go through all of the permitting, which may limit spaces and change the way that flows. So, okay, any other comments or questions? If there aren't any, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Chief.
Good evening.
Good evening.
A few weeks ago, the new sheriff of Addison County, Mike Elmore, reached out to us, and he's got a bit of a dilemma there with dispatch, as do we all, I suppose. But they're having an issue with the agency that's currently dispatching for them, the Rutland County Sheriff's Department. Runaway fee schedule, things like that. It's just beyond what they could continue. And they asked us if we could provide dispatch service for them. And my answer was, we can try, do a trial period. So what we've done is an initial MOU just to get us through a trial period for 3 months to see if this is even feasible, or even if we could even do this. Mechanically, we can. We did radio tests from all points of the county, and our signal is strong enough off of Chipman Hill that we can do that.
Wow.
They share our frequency anyway. And so we've been doing radio tests. They've been out in Shoreham, they've been up in Ferrisburg, Moncton, all over the county doing that. We've got certainly strong enough signal. This is not the kind of dispatch that we usually get from people. We're not answering phone calls for them.
Bless you.
We are simply maintaining a radio link. So when they get involved in it, and just primarily at traffic stops, with their traffic contracts around the county, really nothing else that they're doing. And it just allows us to be in touch with them. They can call in, we know where they are. They've got computers in their car, they can fill in all the data themselves. So it hasn't been a burden. There's a lot of frequency talk because there's a lot of them out there doing traffic work around the county. So we thought we'd give it a try for 3 months to see how this is going to go. And after that, we would then construct a much more detailed MOU. We would add things like complaint and conflict resolution, fees for extra services, a basic fee for service, and on and on. There's a bunch of things that have to go into this beyond our basic thing. My concept of this, if it all works out, and we're going to get a fee for service, this would supplant the money that we put away in capital improvements for radio equipment.
Great.
We would establish a fund, a perpetual fund, so that we don't have to go begging for money and borrowing money to replace and upgrade our radio equipment. And that's what we would designate that fund for. So far, so good. As I said, the tests seem to be working out okay. It's just a matter, I want to get through a full 3-month period just to see the impact on us. So we've had a number of meetings with them to talk about things.
So we have radio coverage of the entire county. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So can I ask you to think again about providing dispatch services as a regional dispatch center?
Yeah, I mean, that's always possible, but there's a lot of engineering that's going to go into that.
Sure.
There's also a huge cost in personnel.
Yes.
You know, I've got
Understood.
two full-time dispatchers.
Yeah.
I need 5.
Yeah.
The building has to have some modification. You're essentially establishing a miniature division inside the departments of record keeping, and
Absolutely.
a lot of this stuff goes into it. So it's not that 5 weeks they gave us to put in for a grant for that was just
Right.
ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
You're
Yeah.
talking a year of engineering and studies, and that goes. There's a lot of interest in having us do it. For
Okay,
Jens,
good.
Bristol, Brandon,
Perfect.
really are interested in that. But as we stand now, we couldn't possibly do that, especially for police departments who are taking complaints, taking calls, 911 pass-throughs. The sheriff is easy. They're stopping cars. That's it. We know where you are. We document where you are. You move on to the next thing. It's a real brief, little bit of work that we have to do, and it seems to be easily absorbed.
Great.
Just out of curiosity, Chief, if you got grants to pay for the upgrade of the facilities, do you think there's enough service demand out there that you, through those contracts, you could pay for the additional 3 staff?
I've had a couple of conversations with Jen Morrison, the Commissioner of Public Safety. All this stuff I brought to you several months ago about this money that's going to designated places, that's on hold. They're
Okay.
now, and Ruth Hardy is revisiting this with her committee. She's in the judicial. Her and I have talked to this, and we'll continue a conversation on what this is going to look like. It looks like right now, instead of automatically coming out in a rush with 11 dispatch centers, they're going to do 2 test centers in the state and see how that goes. It's going to require, again, a year of engineering. The state's got to hire engineers to do this whole thing. So it's down the road, and it looks like it could be feasible if we could do that. Again, can these smaller agencies, can we all co-opt and be able to pay for this?
Yeah.
That's the question.
You know, Bristol's, they got 2 officers. Virgins has 6. There's small budgets. Brandon, they're a little bit bigger than Virgins. Can we pick up easily, another $400,000 in a personnel budget alone for this, in addition to then getting equipment things in? Is it feasible? I guess it is, but we really, really need a detailed study on this. Somebody that really knows what they're doing rather than me just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Some basic knowledge.
Okay, pleasure of the board on this.
Yeah. I move to authorize the memorandum of understanding between the town of Middlebury. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. I move to approve a 3-month memorandum of understanding between the town of Middlebury's Police Department and the Aston County Sheriff's Office that will have the Middlebury Police Department provide dispatch services for the sheriff's office.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
So while we're on MOUs, we got the rest of the money coming to us from the National Opioid Settlement. We're proposing that we give half to Turning Point Center of Addison County. We've already given them a substantial amount. And the rest to, I've talked to Rachel at Counseling Service. They have a formal substance use disorder program there, and give that to them. Her and I have spoken. She would welcome the funds. It would help. I've emphasized that we need to have documentation on the money that they're spending. Kathleen sent me a thing today with all kinds of legalese in it, but it could be basically down to a sentence. As long as you're spending the money 100% on opioid remediation, you don't have to do annual reports or anything.
Wow.
So, if you're going to use the money for something else, then you've got to report that you're using the money for something else. And I understanding that certain administrative costs and things that go into opioid remediation with staff costs and things like that. So Rachel's on board with this. They've got the MOU and they're looking at it. And they would get a total of $13,943.32, and Turning Point would get the balance of that minus the $9,000. It's something we've already sent.
Okay, pleasure of the board.
I move to authorize the memorandum of understanding between the town of Middlebury and Counseling Service of Addison County, which will transfer $13,943.32 in national opioid settlement funds provided to the town to CSEC.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions on that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Kathleen's got a draft letter of support.
Right. So you had in your packet a form letter that VLCT gave to us in an effort to gather signatures to legislators on the issue of project-based tax increment financing districts. And so I used that letter and tailored it to our particular situation. Specifically, the project we envision includes transportation, water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure improvements and brownfields site remediation, if any, for the Bakery Lane parking lot parcel in the middle of downtown, just east of the library and town offices, to prepare the site for mixed-use development, potentially including housing, businesses, and a rehabilitated and expanded library. Project-based tax increment financing would enable the community to take on debt for a portion of the project and repay that debt using a portion of the tax increases resulting from the project.
Everybody able to hear what she was reading? So this is to go to our legislators. They'll be turning these letters over to our legislators in an argument for modifying the current TIF to a smaller, more manageable TIF districts for towns like ourselves. And this is something I think that we should explore as a board. There's obviously support behind doing the library, but if you look at what that does to our budget without some alternative finance mechanism, it blows our budget out of the water. And so I have been testifying when we had an opportunity in Montpelier on these project-based TIFs, and they're getting closer, but I think the VLCT is really pushing to get a big push with this latest biennium to make it actually happen. So this is our letter to go amongst a number of letters saying that we actually do have a project that would be a potential. It's not a commitment on our part to actually involve ourselves in it. We would still have to go through process, but it is saying that we see value where it could be valuable to our town, and that we have a project identified that could use this support. Okay.
Sure.
So Kathleen's already drafted the letter, right? So we don't really need a motion?
We do need a motion to authorize her to sign it and submit it.
I gave it a signature block for the whole board to sign.
Oh, okay.
So do we need to?
Yep.
Motion,
Motion
To
to
accept it?
approve her draft letter.
motion to approve the letter and so I'll make a motion to approve the letter of support to our legislators on project-based increment financing. And that we all can sign it.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Check warrants.
Yeah, I have reviewed the warrants and I move to approve total expenditures in the amount of $849,718.88, consisting of $613,822.67 for accounts payable and $235,896.21 for payroll for the period January 25, 2023 through February 14th, 2023.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And Judy is still with us.
Okay, let's see if we can get Judy's mic working. Judy, we have determined it's your mic.
Judy?
Oh,
Can you hear me?
We hear you now.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
my goodness. Welcome to the meeting.
I'm going to, just a second,
Uh-oh.
sorry.
That's what I would say too.
Can you see me?
Yes. See you.
We got it all.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. One second. I have my notes. I need to thank you guys for being here today. It's Valentine's Day.
Yes, it is.
That's one of my favorite holidays, or it was. No, I think it still is. My favorite holiday. Okay. But thank you for being here tonight and being willing to entertain my comments. Time, I found, is an incredibly valuable commodity. And I want you to know that I appreciate your time. I don't know if it comes across that way, and if it comes across that way otherwise from me, I apologize. I appreciate your time. Back to my notes. I had a conversation earlier today with someone that reminded me of a couple things. One, perspectives matter. And two, listening matters. And with that, I find I personally need to pay closer attention to perspectives. My perspective is totally and wholly environmental. And I understand, I think, that members of the select board, their perspective is totally and wholly economic. But at some point, the two perspectives must meet. And I will do whatever I can to help those two perspectives align. At the same time, economics will not work without an environment to support it. And so I will fight for, do whatever I can for, planting a pollinator garden on the north side of Munson Road, which V-Trans has cleared. I have yet to get any kind of affirmation from Michelle Bloomhauer. That's a primary place for pollinator plants, or native plants to be planted. And if there's anything you all can do to facilitate that, that would be most appreciated. The other thing is, and I'm sorry if I sound weird. I love plants. I love them.
You love what?
Bats.
Oh,
I'm
bats.
sorry, what?
They couldn't hear you.
I just
I love bats.
got it. Thank you.
They eat more mosquitoes that you can imagine in a minute and they are also important pollinators, and whatever additional work at the north end of the airport impacts their habitat, I will vehemently oppose. Bats are our friends. With that being said, I can't thank you enough for listening. I don't want you to give up. I don't want you to, the whole airport thing has been contentious, but please do not give up. It's too important. There's too much at stake. And I think, and the other thing my conversation earlier today made me realize is that communication is key. If we can communicate with one another, we might progress. If we can't, we will not. And so I'm willing to sit down at any table you can offer to protect trees, to protect bats. They're the cutest things ever. They're the cutest things ever. You just need to tell me what to do, and I will help. That's all I got.
Okay.
Happy Valentine's Day,
Happy
Judy.
Valentine's Day, Judy. Glad we got your mic working. We did find out it was your mic, I think, because the next person was able to talk okay. So we'll have to figure out what's going on with your computer.
Yes, please. That would be awesome.
Did you restart, Judy?
I'm not a fan of attending your meetings, but if they're kind of stressful, then, yes.
Wait a second. Now,
Anything I can do to forward environmental,
one of the things about communications, Judy, is that they be truthful, and you attend almost all of our meetings. You mean you don't want to be here in person? You speak at almost all of our meetings, so come on.
I would have been there in person tonight, but I had something else come up.
All right.
But yeah, just seeing everybody's smiling face, and now I need to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day.
Okay.
And that's why I'm most grateful for your attendance tonight. If it was
Now we want to get home.
I would have said, absolutely not.
Thank you.
Okay. Good
Thank you,
night.
Judy.
Have a good night.
I'm gonna go to
Have a
board
good
member.
one.
Board member
Bye.
concerns. Bye. Dan.
Good stuff tonight, thanks. There's a lot of really important stuff on our agenda tonight. We did it very quickly, and I thought library folks did a good job sitting down with each one of you and talking to everybody so you had a better understanding. So I appreciate that. And I apologize, I had Valentine's for each of you, and I left them at home.
Oh, you can bring them next time.
No,
That's
like,
fine.
Once you get in the car, you rip them off. like-
Excuses all the time.
Oh.
Excuses.
Isabel.
It's the same thing last
I got
year.
nothing.
Got nothing? Farhad?
Oh, yes. I would actually humbly request each one of you to stop by at the store at your convenience and take a look at what I'm talking about, especially Brian. I don't think you've ever been to my store.
I've been to your store.
You have never been.
I have too. I used to get the big poster boards for my kids.
I'll be
Like
in
how old are your
tomorrow.
kids?
I'm looking for a tiger
I gotta
balloon,
stop.
just so
I
you
don't
know.
understand what you're
So,
saying.
I don't buy that type of
No,
stuff.
I know.
Please stop by, take a look. I'll offer you a hot cup of coffee if you want. But it is really stressful. Last week has been very stressful. I was traveling to California, but my heart was right here because in the middle of the day, it was heavy rains. They came and dropped those big rocks and just shut that off. My problem is us not being considerate of small businesses surviving in this town. They just want to follow the rules. This is what DRB says, and you're going to put those rocks there. But they don't look at the consequences that's going to put on my livelihood because it just completely blocks me off from traffic.
Did Public Works do that?
They did, yeah.
Public
don't
Works
understand.
did that at the request of Tony Neary to meet his zoning permit as approved by the DRB.
Oh.
I just don't understand. I couldn't understand the whole thing.
There was some missing context in the
Mhm.
in the presentation.
So that goes in the no good deed goes unpunished.
Oh. Okay.
He claims he meant the other side between his north and south properties. That's where I think that's what he's thinking. I don't know. It just
Like cutting off between your lot and his lot.
So is
I
the
don't
deal
know
there
that
that he can't have that additional access on the road? I don't know. We need some more information
Yeah.
on that, but we don't have to do it
please
tonight.
Yeah.
I would like some more information. on that.
yeah. And please let me know if you're coming. I'll be there to show you things around.
I do think myself, when I've come out of your store and wanted to
Get out. Yeah.
go south on 7,
Yeah.
I will go out that way to the Middle Road light
Yeah.
to use the light because I don't want to go across
It's the only
3
way.
lanes of traffic there.
We
That's
ne-
more of a
You wanna go
accident
north?
hazard.
Oh, yeah.
North on Street.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
north,
go north.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
we
north.
know what you
We never had
I don't know
any
what
traffic
direction.
backup, except for in the morning when the school,
Sure.
Yeah.
there's a line of school buses.
8
It
o'clock's
happens
always
on
tough.
Charles, it
That's-
happens
it's
everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Other than that, we never have the issue. It's a safe way to get out
Right.
from the lot. Yeah.
Okay, I
It's
think we
also
all
a
need to educate ourselves on it.
Safe way to
and,
get in too.
I will definitely come by
Please.
in the next week. And I do spend time at your store.
Andy?
I'll send Michelle.
I have nothing, except to say that I thought that the VT Digger article on the noise ordinance was very good.
Heather?
So when Lindsay and I met with Jim and Amy
Amy.
about the library, they had a picture, I don't know if the rest of you saw it, of the front of the building with the access change. Did you all see that?
Yep.
I'm like so in love with that picture, just so you know.
With the cutout into the hill.
Here's the
Uh,
thing though, it puts you into the basement.
Well, the other thing
So?
is,
It's fine, it's just the
The-
basement needs a
if
overhaul.
you look at that, the sign says that it's law offices.
Right, yeah.
And so that would be an adaptive reuse. But
That wasn't the Ilsley Library picture, right?
No,
it was not, but it was a similarly situated with
And I
an
have
accessible
thought about
entrance.
if that would be,
Yeah.
you know, I have thought
Anyway,
about
I
that.
just-
The last design that they did, I think, had a street level entrance too. The last time.
In the front?
The GDB,
I think it did.
the GDB, right? GB
Yeah.
or something.
Anyway, the other thing that I suggested was that they consider selling bookshelves so that you could get I figured I could afford a bookshelf and have my
Just the
name
shelf.
on like a bookshelf, you know, like as a fundraising thing, like
Like a sponsoring a
this,
bookshop.
this
Yeah.
is my book, this is the Sealy bookshelf.
Like at $10,000 a pop, you could do a
Oh.
hundred of them.
Yeah, sorry, you just priced me right out of that bookshelf. Anyway, there are, you know, ideas and I hope we can figure out how to make it go forward, so.
Well, they have there will be a whole committee of fundraising. More people will be involved in the fundraising portion of that. So they're gonna have those juicy ideas, I think.
I know everybody wants to go and just say really quickly, I'm bummed that Emily is not here tonight. And I hope she feels better soon. But I just want to say, from my seat in the infrastructure committee, I've just really appreciated her being on the team and been really impressed with the work and effort she's put into things so far. And so I was going to thank her with you guys here, but she's not here, but I'll thank her anyway for you guys. So,
That's great.
And along
Thanks.
that same lines, those update notes that she provided are outstanding. That just gives us,
did you see, there's also additional in the select board, in the infrastructure packet, the updates that she's providing. And
it's
I mean, the
outstanding.
stormwater work, just that and this work with the students is just really exciting. And she's really, I just wanted to express my appreciation for the good job she's doing. I told her at infrastructure, but I wanted to tell her when you guys could hear it too.
I would say as good of a budgeter as Kathleen is, she may be topping it with her recruitment performance here, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Kathleen. Anyway, that's it. That's all. I'm good.
Lindsay?
The only thing I have is that Laura Sermley called me earlier today, and it sounds like she and some other people, possibly including the Rotary, are having some conversations around the possibility of putting in a public toilet, better than a porta potty. And so I think they're looking for some information in terms of what the town would need. It sounds like there's the possibility that the Rotary would be interested in doing the work and sort of helping to facilitate things a bit. You know, all this information is third hand, but I said I would share it, so I'm sharing it. You know, and I do think it's something that would be beneficial to the town. So
For sure.
throwing it out there.
Interesting. They're gonna pay for was she thinking they're looking at paying for the upkeep of it too?
No.
Oh.
That's why they need to know what the town is.
Nice try,
I
Brian.
mean, once a month, it'll be fine.
I know they're not glamorous, but I do think that's one thing that's nice about the porta potty situation is that the cleaning is.
Right.
Sure.
Like the sticker prices, that's it.
Yep.
It covers everything.
Yeah.
But they are, I was thinking.
I know.
Yeah, whatever. They are not as attractive as, or nice to be in.
The one across the road from our house that's been there for a while now, got blown over during that really windy period.
a porta potty across from your house?
I was going to ask you that.
It's not mine.
There's a porta potty across from your house.
Yes,
I'm gonna drive out there.
just to use it.
We don't want to do it on, we don't want to do it on TV, so. Yeah. So the only thing I had is that I had talked to Joe and Ken about the whole funding and everything. I was a little perturbed that something snuck in there. I know they got around and lobbied everybody. But if they're gonna, don't waste my time. If you could come and ask the way I think the process should we go, that's the thing. It's so.
Yeah, we should have talked to you. I didn't.
Well, I was very
didn't
specific.
Catch that.
I was very specific and I'd even passed on to Kathleen how we had agreed. And so then see that in the packet. I'm like, we haven't got the money for that. So, so anyways, that's the only reason why, but I'm good. I like the process that we're going through. And I think it just needs to be very methodical because you're talking about a lot of money and to start just getting ahead of ourselves too much. I know that there's a desire to move strong forward, but it's going to do no good if you run up against the wall. So it needs to be very well thought out and our money apportioned at the right times when we know we have plans and can keep moving. So I'd rather be thoughtful about it than to charge too fast forward and outrun our support forces. So that's why I asked for us to hold that off. Okay.
Thank you for keeping us on the straight and narrow there because it didn't even dawn on me, I
Well,
was,
no, he wasn't keeping you. I mean, he wouldn't. Yeah. Anyways, so I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Next meeting is Monday, February 27th, and it's going to be held at the library because the DRB is in this room on Monday nights.
I moved to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay.
Why is it on Monday?
because the